I asked my husband for divorce after I read the text he received and I found out that it was just a prank. Now, he wants to leave me because I did not have a proper reaction to his infidelity. About a month ago while having Sunday breakfast, my husband left his iPad on the counter when I was doing the dishes and went to the gym. Now I think about it, he went out of his way to draw my attention to the iPad the whole morning, placing it on display and leaving it wherever I was. Now I know why. While I was loading the dishwasher he got a text and a picture of a naked female torso. And you missed this? The number belonged to Eve. I froze in my tracks. We've been married for 2 years and we have 2 children together, M5 and F3. Against my better judgment, I started looking and there was this full conversation for over a week. He was cheating on me with this Eve. I can't describe the amount of pain I felt and I ran to the bathroom vomiting and crying. Anyway, when he got back from the gym and asked me what was wrong, I just handed him the iPad and told him that he had gotten a text from Eve and that I needed to go out for a walk if he could stay with the children. He said okay. I went for a 3 hours walk. He texted me multiple times if I was okay and I said that I was fine, just needed the walk. I don't remember crying this much in my entire life. When I got home I told him that I knew about his affair and asked him how we were going to do this. Do what? I told him that we obviously couldn't stay married but that I needed to know how we were going to do this with the least damage possible to the children. I told him that since he has his parents living near he could move out and let me stay with the children for now until we separated. Is that really all your reaction? Are you effing serious right now? I just looked at him all puzzled. What did he mean by this? I told him that I couldn't discuss this now because I was exhausted. He started yelling that I was so careless and cold. My reaction to his infidelity wasn't the proper reaction, or at least not the one he expected. He then shoved the iPad in my hands and asked me to call Eve. I refused and ran to our room because I couldn't believe how cruel he was being, wanting me to call his mistress. Effing call the number. I did. The number belonged to his friend and he was laughing on the other line saying it was all a prank. It took me a few moments to get it, but then I started crying. My husband was livid at the way I handled the prank. He was disappointed that I didn't care enough. I don't know what he wanted me to do. He couldn't explain how he expected me to act. He just yelled that he didn't expect this. Now a month later he's still so cold and distant with me. I tried to apologize and explain that I was hurt but shocked because that wasn't him. I tried to explain that I just didn't want to hurt our children. I told him that I loved him so much and that if that was something true it would have broken me. It did for the few hours I believed the prank. He thinks I'm too cold and apathetic and my reaction was abnormal, so now he's cold and apathetic towards me. And I think this whole situation is abnormal. Update 1. This morning, before my husband dropped off the children at daycare and the dogs at the dog center, I asked him to talk to me. I told him that his treatment of me for the last month wasn't sustainable and that I had given him space long enough. But now he has to do something, talk to me, try to find a solution or set me free. He asked me to meet up with him for lunch because we were both running late for work. At lunch, he apologized for the prank and he said he couldn't believe that he went with it, and how stupid it was of him to think that it was harmless and playful. He said that he had been feeling miserable about it, and so guilty, but that he had never felt so worthless in his entire life. I showed him how disposable he was to me, and how easily I could believe something this horrible about him, accept it, and make plans to move on within hours. Even if I have cheated on you, you showed no sign that you loved me enough to at least ask me why. If the roles were reversed, he would have been angry, he would have confronted me, he would have asked me why, who the other man was, what it was that he, the other man, had that he didn't, and so on. I told him I was thinking all of these things, but I had other priorities, like the stability of my children's family life, and the hurt it would cause them to have divorced parents, because he knew me well enough to understand that I would never forgive a cheater. I pushed away my anger and feelings of disappointment because all I was thinking of was how we could provide our children the best life with 2 homes. I was eventually going to process the anger and hurt. I knew I had all the time later for grief and rage, so he told me that he wanted to move out to his parents, but that he wasn't sure how to manage without seeing the children every day. So I suggested that he could pick them up from daycare every day since I work later than him. I could pick them up from my in-laws after work. I also suggested that we could split the weekend. He was silent while I was planning. He then said I love you and kissed me and hugged me for a long while, for the first time in weeks. When I got home after picking up the children and the dogs, he was already gone with his clothes. He texted me around 11 p.m. saying that he couldn't believe that I was doing it again and that he was done. I called him and he told me I was, again, a matter of fact and unemotional. I seemed unfazed, like him moving out wasn't a big deal. He felt redundant again and disposable and unnecessary in my life. I told him this was so unfair, because I'd missed him, and I have missed him all these weeks when he was ignoring me. I was just trying to give him space and respect his wishes because I still wanted us to work things out. He didn't want to listen anymore, so we hung up. At 2 a.m., he texted that this wasn't working for him and he wanted a divorce. I texted back, okay. Update 2. My husband found my posts and he said he was so ashamed of himself and the way he handled our problem, especially after reading all the comments calling him out. Now we have a lot of work to do if we're going to make it. I'm still not 100% sure why he acted the way he did because I've always been clear about my feelings and how much I love him. I never felt that life and the children came in the way. It just made my love for him even stronger, but I'm not gonna dismiss his feelings if he really felt neglected and disposable. He hasn't moved home yet. We have been on dates and we have been spending quality time together. Before all of this happened, we were talking about having another baby and maybe moving into a bigger house. We are waiting for this. I wasn't sure how I would tell him that I wanted to wait without it sounding like I was cold and had given up on our future, so I tried to show more emotions this time and make it clear that I just wanted to wait until we're back on track and not cancel the plans altogether, but he was actually understanding and kind of relieved. We'll see how this goes. I love and miss him so much, and the children miss their daddy at home. Thank you again.